King Piccolo and Mutaito engaged in a fierce battle in the Dragon Ball world. Mutaito was a skilled martial artist and one of the strongest warriors of his time. But on the other hand, King Piccolo was a powerful demon who sought to conquer the world. The battle between these two was intense and lasted for hours. Mutaito used all of his martial arts skills and techniques to fight King Piccolo, but the demon was too powerful for him. King Piccolo was able to match Mutaito's attacks and even counterattack with his own devastating moves. In the end, Mutaito used a powerful technique called the Evil Containment Wave to seal King Piccolo in a rice cooker. This technique required Mutaito to expend all of his energy and ultimately cost him his life. However, he leaves two powerful students in his wake. Now, what will happen when Shen and Roshi stay friends? Shen and Roshi sat together in solemn silence, grieving the loss of their beloved master at the hands of the evil King Piccolo. Shen spoke first, his voice heavy with sadness. "I can't believe our master is gone. He was so wise and powerful, and yet even he couldn't defeat this monster without giving up his own life instead." Roshi nodded, slowly, his eyes downcast. "I know it's a tragedy our master dedicated his entire life to fighting evil, and now he's ultimately paid the price for it." Shen's anger began to surface. "We must avenge our master's death. We cannot let King Piccolo go unpunished for what he's done. He must pay for his crimes." Roshi's expression remained solemn. "I understand your anger, Shen, but he is already sealed away and revenge won't bring our master back. We must honor his memory by continuing his fight against evil and protecting the world." Shen took a deep breath and nodded, his eyes full of determination. "You're right, Roshi. We must carry on our master's legacy and fight to keep the world safe from people like Piccolo." The two martial arts masters sat together in silence once again, remembering their fallen master and preparing for the battles that lay ahead. After composing themselves, the first thing they do is grab the container that contains King Piccolo. They both debate on what they should do with it, but then they come to the consensus that they should both throw it in the ocean and get rid of the menace once and for all. After dealing with the menace that is King Piccolo, Roshi and Shen then go to explore the world for new strength. One day, while exploring the world, they hear about Korin's tower, a legendary tower that is said to be home to a wise master named Korin. Intrigued by the rumors, Shen and Roshi set out on a journey to find the tower and meet Korin. After days of travel, they finally arrive at the base of the tower. After talking with the natives there, they are given permission to climb up Korin's tower. Shen, apprehensive about this task ahead of him, asks Roshi, "How are we supposed to climb this tower days on end?" Roshi replies with a "like this," and begins to climb. Undeterred by the daunting task ahead of him, Roshi begins to climb. Shen reluctantly follows. As they ascend, they are met with various challenges and obstacles. Despite the difficulties, they persist and eventually reach the top of the tower. There they meet a cat. They did not expect a cat, but okay. He says his name is Korin, and he greets them very warmly and invites them to stay a while. After years of failing to get the sacred water, Korin finally asks them a question. "Roshi, Shen, I have an important task for you." The two young men approached him. "I need you to go on a journey to find the immortal herb." "The immortal herb?" Roshi asked. "What is that?" "It's a magical plant that can grant immortality to those who consume it," Korin explained. "But it's incredibly rare and can be found in the most remote and dangerous parts of the world." Roshi and Shen were both excited by the prospect of such an adventure. They knew it would be difficult, but they were eager to prove themselves to their mentor. They battled fierce beasts, encouraged treacherous terrains, and struggled with hunger and fatigue. On their journey, they passed through a funny-looking rock, very veiny and descriptive. Shen's weirded out by this rock, but Roshi's all enthused by it, feeling that it's going to be very important later on. So they continue on. But despite the hardship, Roshi and Shen remained determined. They knew that the immortal herb was their goal, and they were not going to give up until they found it. Finally, after long weeks of traveling, they arrived at their destination. It was a remote, treacherous mountain where the immortal herb was growing. Roshi and Shen climbed the mountain facing... Piccolo. "There's no way. I saw you get sealed away," Shen said with his voice shaking in fear. Piccolo just began to laugh, and then rush at both young martial artists. As both martial artists put their guard up, Piccolo attacks, striking both of them hard in the stomach. Both are blown back hard, but not as hard as Roshi thought it would be. Shen, still in shock, blasts Piccolo with a ki blast. Piccolo was surprisingly fazed by this. Roshi begins to put the pieces together. Piccolo now starts to put work in, striking Shen and putting him on the ground. Piccolo begins to mercilessly beat on Shen while he is on the ground. But Roshi, with a hard kick, launches Piccolo far away. Shen, this isn't Piccolo, it's some sort of clone. Shen asks how he knows this, and Roshi explains. Before we couldn't even put a scratch on that monster. Now we're contending with him? It's all too convenient. Shen then began to calm down. Are you sure about this, Roshi? He said in a relaxed voice. I'm so sure about it, I bet the cat knew what we were going into. The clone of the Demon King is now quite irritated about the casual conversation, so he goes to end them both with one strike. Shen then stands up, and him and Roshi begin to cobble together to make a blast that will one day look very familiar. Piccolo having no way to counter, he takes it head on, being destroyed, and Roshi then climbs a mountain to grab the paradise plant. Korin better be happy with this, Shen said with an annoyed and proud voice. Is that pride in your voice, Shen? Too much of that can end pretty bad, Roshi said with an annoying voice. Shut up, Roshi, Shen said angrily. Roshi began to laugh, and they both made their way back to Korin's tower. When they finally make it back to the base of Korin's tower, they begin to climb, and notice that it's a lot easier than it was the first time. When they make it back up, they are greeted by Korin, and he asks if they got the plant for him. They say yes in an excited tone. He thanks them and takes the plant. Curious, they follow Korin, and Korin proceeds to open the jar, filled to the brim with the paradise plant. Shen angrily begins to berate the cat. What was even the point of that? Roshi, mimicking his friend, asks the same question but gentler. Korin begins to answer. You two had some emotional baggage with you that needed to be cleared up before you were ready to get the water. Shen then starts up on berating the cat, but Roshi stops him and thanks him. Thank you, master. I never thought I would be able to get closure. I thank you. Shen, seeing Roshi thank Korin, begins to do the same. Now you two are ready. With that, he sprang into action, moving faster than either of them had ever seen as he evaded their attempts to catch him. Roshi and Shen worked together, each trying to anticipate Master Korin's movement and cut off his escape. They moved with precision and speed, their bodies working in perfect harmony as they chased the elusive cat. Finally, after what felt like hours but was likely only minutes, they saw their chance. Master Korin had paused for a moment, caught off guard by their sudden shift in tactics. Roshi and Shen pounced, each of them grabbing onto one of his legs. Master Korin chuckled. Well done, young students, he said, with his eyes twinkling with amusement. You have proven yourself worthy of my training, and now you can get the water. They both let Korin go, and he leaves to get 2 cups. This is my sacred water. Shen and Roshi looked at each other, and they decided to test it out, each taking a sip and waiting for the effects to kick in. But nothing happened. Shen and Roshi looked at each other in confusion. They had been expecting some sort of dramatic transformation, but they felt no different than before. Suddenly, Korin burst out with a loud laughter. That's just regular tap water, he said, bellowing out in laughter. Shen, being very annoyed, tells Roshi that they're leaving right now. But Korin says that if they want to go further with their training, they should go separately. He says this as he calls a cloud to him. Nimbus! The cloud stops right in front of him. Well, whoever can get on this cloud can have it. Roshi and Shen, with a surprised look on their face, go to the cloud. Roshi's the first one to get on. He actually gets on the cloud. Shen then tries to jump on the cloud, but he goes straight through it. Everyone begins laughing at him. Screw this cloud, I don't need it. I'll just find my own way to fly. Roshi begins laughing even harder. After this, Shen and Roshi come up with a plan that they'll meet back up in 5 years at their master's old training academy and start it back up again. With that, they set off on their separate paths, Roshi going to explore the world and Shen going to babysit his master's old dojo. 5 years pass. Where is that fool? We agreed to meet here. What's taking him so long? Shen says, extremely annoyed. What's the point of a flying cloud if you won't use it? As he says this, Roshi arrives on foot. Where's the cloud? Shen says. Well, I couldn't get back on it a few years back. It's probably all the magazines you keep reading. Like you're any better. Shen just sighs and gets back on topic. Let's start the dojo back up. Roshi excitedly nods his head, and they both go inside. Days, weeks, months pass, no students. As they wonder why they're not getting any students, they hear a knock on the door. Shen and Roshi excitedly open the door to see. What are you doing here? Well, I came to train, brother. And that's where we're ending it off for now. How do you guys like this? I think it's turning out pretty well, if you say so myself. This is my first what if, so give me a little bit of leeway on the writing. But, I'm doing what I can. Thank you. Like and subscribe if you like doing that.